Welcome, everyone, to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. I seem to be getting the unlucky, sad topics here lately. But for those of us who love From Software, who is owned by parent studio Kadokawa, Sony just become the largest shareholder in From Software, parent company Kadokawa. No full takeover for now, but Sony has invested 50 billion yen, approximately $318 million, in From Software's parent company, Kadokawa, which putting the brakes on a full takeover for now. With the investment, Sony becomes the largest shareholder in Kadokawa with 10% of the company's shares. Chinese megacorp Tencent is not too far behind them in controlling stake. So it says Sony and Kadokawa have formed what the pair described as strategic capital and business alliance, with the goal to boost Kadokawa's long list of intellectual property globally. What this means, from my perspective, is that any new game they put out is going to be Sony exclusives. No Elden Ring on PC, no Elden Ring on Xbox, besides the next one, the Night Rain, that's already been talked about. I could see Sony doing that. That's just what I think, may or may not happen. But Sony, they got to try to put that final nail in the coffin for these competitors out there. So in the article, it talks about Sony boss Hiroki Totoki commented, through this capital and business alliance, will become the largest shareholder of Kadokawa, which consistently creates a wide variety of IPs, including publications and books such as light novels and comics, as well as games and anime. By combining Kadokawa's extensive IP and IP creation ecosystem with the strengths of Sony, which has promoted the global expansion of a wide range of entertainment, including anime and games, we plan to work closely together to realize Kadokawa's global media mix strategy aimed at maximizing the value of its IP and Sony's long-term vision, creative entertainment vision. This is, I like From Software. They made some really good stuff, but I hate to hear that Sony's going to have a boot in this, a boot and a say in this company now. Because I think that Sony has an agenda, just like every company out there, but Sony's agenda is overtly opaque, which is to put all competition out of business by any means necessary, which typically means making our stuff exclusive to drive people to our ecosystem. I think Sony has one of the worst ecosystems out there in the gaming market. I think their storefront sucks. I think their game front sucks. Their console game interface sucks. I would take Steam's or Microsoft's over theirs any day. Sony makes damn good single player games, but they make business decisions that hurt gamers. So like I said, I don't like this. I'm very sad to hear this, but with this update, like I said, they became one of, they have one of the largest shareholders now in this company. So I think, and I'd like to know what you guys think, and everybody out there, what do you think? Does this mean that Kadokawa is going to start putting out more exclusives, or at the very least more timed exclusives on Sony only, Sony PlayStation? Because I think that Elden Ring is a perfect example, does really well because it's pretty much everywhere. It's not like only on PC or Xbox or PlayStation. It's everywhere minus the Switch, right? And I think you get to reach a larger market with a game like that, because let's all admit it's a niche market, because it's a Souls-like game, and those aren't the most popular out there. But I think that Elden Ring has kind of broken down that barrier a little bit, because it's not as difficult as like most Souls game, nowhere near as difficult as like Bloodborne or anything like that. But it's a really good entry level into a Souls-like game for most people, because I found it highly approachable for somebody who's not a fan of that series, So, but I think this is bad for Kadokawa. I mean, in the short term, they got a cash infusion, right? I mean, their stock got a good bounce because, Sony bought a crap ton of them, $318 million worth. So I don't know. I find this a bad idea just because of Sony's predatory stance towards games and gaming for everyone. They have a very anti-gaming for everyone. Their stance is gaming for everyone that has a PlayStation. If you don't have a PlayStation, we don't care. And that is their market, and that is what it is. I think games for everyone, no matter where you play, is the better option. So, and I know Nick is probably the largest Souls-like fan of amongst us. He plays a lot more and is a lot. He loves the masochist. He's a masochist. He loves the pain. Nick, what do you think about this? I mean, you love pain so much. Is this a good thing for you?
No, no. It depends on what Sony does with it, right? So if they're smart, well, I say if they're smart, what they should do is even if they have some interest, they have some say in what they do now, what the company does. They should still allow their games to be multi-platform, because I think those games do better in that regard, right? I think the From Software games have always been, not every single one, right? I mean, Demon Souls wasn't, but I mean, I guess From Software didn't do the remake; they did the original. And then Bloodborne wasn't, right? But I think it would help. I think it'd be in Sony's best interest to allow them to make, as far as their gaming stuff goes, multi-platform. Sure, you could put Sony's publishing name on it or whatever if you want to do it that way, but put it out on everything. And I know Sony, you're right, Sony's strategy is typically not that, but I think it would be better for that. You don't want to, I feel like for that game, for those types of games, I don't know if it would be a good strategy to subjugate those down to just the PlayStation ecosystem, right? Because they've been multi-platform for so long, and people enjoy playing Elden Ring and Dark Souls and things like that on various different platforms, and people have been calling, besides a remake of Bloodborne, they've been calling for Bloodborne to be put out on other things, right? PC mainly and stuff like that, so they can play it, with mods and various things like that on the PC side of things. So I think more people want to see those types of games be more multi-platform. And I hope, if Sony has some sway or influence, which they do, being that they own a largest portion of shares, then they do have some influence and say on what happens. And I hope they don't say, you've got to make your games exclusive to our console, right? I agree. I don't. I, I understand the reason for exclusivity, but I'm with you on. I think that no matter where you play or want to play, you should be able to play whatever games you want to. I understand, however, I understand if Sony doesn't want to put like The Last of Us or Spider-Man 3 or Last of Us 3 or Intergalactic or whatever, onto PC, or onto Xbox as well, let's say. But I think Sony should make a change to where they start releasing those titles, those particular titles on PlayStation and PC at the same time, day and date for both. Because you're always going to have those, you're always going to have those console players. I don't think it's going to make those console players, it's Microsoft could have the same thing. The problem is Microsoft never puts anything out that's exclusive anymore. So, you don't have a reason to I mean, I guess if they didn't put it on PC, you would have a reason for Xbox, but when they release like a Halo or Gears of War, in whatever century that's in. But other than that, they haven't released any exclusive games in a while. I don't know. I just feel like I get the idea of exclusivity for being a console seller. I don't know if it is a niche market, that those types of games. I don't know if those would be console sellers, right? I don't know if those would be console pushers. Is as much as people like those games, I just don't see them as like someone going out and buying a console for it, right? It just doesn't seem like that type of game for that. So I don't know. I don't know what they'll do, but hopefully nothing bad. And then like I said, I would like to see it be multi-platform, but um, and like I said, with the Sony stuff, I'd like to see them do their games multi-platform. I know they usually bring their games to PC later on down the road, right? And which is good and all, and I understand why they do that, but I don't want to have to. It sucks having to wait. I mean, I have a PlayStation, so I could go out and just buy those games on PlayStation, which I typically do. But if I could just have one console and do everything with it, that'd be good for me, right?
Well, unfortunately, that's what it's turning into. You just have to wait a little bit, but everything's coming to PC. So,
Yeah.
but I think you're wrong. I don't think everything should go to everything. And the reason being is not as a gamer, just as me wanting to make money. If I have an object that I can sell, and then I can sell things to go to that object, that's where I'm going to make my money. And by putting it over to PC, I'm losing sales of that object because PC is better. I mean, it's just a given. PC is better because you can do mods. You can typically the game you can make run better and look better and play better. All depending on your PC setup, of course. So Sony doesn't want to lose sales of the console of that object, and I understand why. So with them buying Kadokawa or buying into Kadokawa, basically taking majority shares, that worries me because that means I think they'll try to limit the next whatever iteration of games that they come up with to PlayStation only, and that's just going to hurt people. Plain and simple. I think the Elden Ring, I think Pat, you can double check. I think it was like 25-30 million copies, somewhere like that sold. And when we first played it, I first played it on Xbox. And I think that's where you guys first played it too. So right there is, sales that they would lose if they did that. Now, or I don't think keeping it all on PlayStation.
Not if they're the publishing arm, though.
If they got controlling stake, they're going to try to control where it goes. Plain and simple. I mean,
well, they don't have controlling stake; they have 10% stake in Kadokawa. And from my understanding, they already owned a 14% stake in From Software.
Yes, yeah. So I think they're going to try to push it to a
which part of the
exclusive?
The fatty part.
The part on the tip, it's all meaty and grizzly.
Just the gristle.
Yeah. But I think they're going to try to push it into their favor. Now, I don't think maybe they will with the very next iteration of game that comes out. That's not contracted for other consoles. I don't think they would do it too fast because I don't think they want to lose that kind of face. Because there's a lot of Xbox and PC players that love Elden Ring, just love it. And I can't blame him. That game, and like Pat said, that game opened up Souls-like games to a lot larger audience. I don't know what the original Dark Souls games sold, but Elden Ring sold really well, and that game, it brought Pat into that world, which was kind of surprising, and me as well. I love that game. I think it's fantastic. It's hard as shit for people like me, but it's still great. Nick loves it, and but he likes chains and whips.
I was already living there.
So, oh yeah, yeah. But
I just came for a visit.
Yeah. I just checking out my buddy's new place. So that Sony owning anything or investing in anything always makes me worry because Sony is all about Sony, and I don't want them to influence or push Sony ideologies into development of anything from Kadokawa, anything from those developers over there because they make such great stuff. Sony will shove a loot box up somebody's, broadsword in there eventually. And I don't want that. Elden Ring was great because it was a complete game. And if I remember right, it was well developed at the beginning at launch. I mean, I don't remember a whole bunch of problems, anything like that. So I don't want to see them lose focus on what makes their games great. That's my biggest concern. Just don't take anything away from anybody. Don't try to influence loot boxes, DLCs, season passes and crap into anything they do. Let them just be them. That's why you invested in them, because they make great stuff. You see that. So you want to partake in that. That's where I think investment should stop. Investment should stop at, I believe in you. Here's some money. Keep going. Bring me back some more money. That's where investment should stop right there. They shouldn't have all that influence of, well, since I've invested more in you than anybody, I want to see larger breast and a loot box on every corner. That's what I don't want.
I mean, just don't do like, for any of these big publishers out there, just don't do what like EA did and Activision and even Microsoft with all these acquisitions. I feel like a lot of the stuff they acquired has, I don't know how much influence they've put into these companies when they say that, at first they were hands off, and then we said they should be a little bit more hands on because, Redfall and some of the other ones didn't really work out so well. But it's like, they got to find that good mixture, but you can't go full bore like EA did, or you're going to just, the great IPs and franchises and developers that you purchase, same thing with Activision, you're going to run them into the ground. And that's what you've done with everything that you've purchased. And with Microsoft and Sony purchasing out different, nice, really good developers, I feel like that, with all of these, it's all going that kind of same direction that I don't like.
Yeah. I think Microsoft has got to have that hand just right on their shoulders. Can't be too far down, giggity. Can't be too far back. You got to have that balance. And Indiana Jones, I don't know if they had any or a little or whatever kind of influence on that, but that game turned out great. The game turned out so damn good. And that's what Microsoft needs. I mean, they gave up on consoles. They're basically a publisher now, and that's fine as long as they're not publishing ass. I don't like seeing them use great studios that turn out to doo-doo. Redfall, developed by a good studio, piece of crap game, broken. Interesting concept, but that was about it. And there's been other iterations, but Hi-Fi Rush was a great game. Out of the blue, just fantastic. No real complaints about it from anybody. But that developer is gone now, so I don't know. I just get concerned when even Microsoft, even Nintendo buying somebody. I get concerned about what happens. But like I agree with you, Nick. I loved the option of playing this game anywhere I want, but unfortunately, not every game can do that. I don't mind the year later stuff for PC, for first party games. Microsoft, obviously, that's day one. Sony, they're basically a 6 months to a year, typically around a year for their big first party games. So I'm okay with that. But
sometimes never.
And that's true. It is sometimes never. So, it's not Beyond Good and Evil 2 never, but there's chances. So I don't know. I concern myself because Sony as a corporation is too greedy on my part. Granted, they're all greedy, but Sony's just openly, slapping hands. So that always drives me crazy. It makes me worried. But we'll have to see what happens. The next Elden Ring standalone's going to be multi-platform. We know that. So I don't believe there'll be I think there was an article that there won't be an actual Elden Ring 2. That's not something they're really considering right now. So whatever their next game is, I imagine it's going to be great as long as they're left alone.
Yeah. And this could be much ado about nothing, right? Because Sony already owned 14 or not owned, but they had 14% of shares in From Software before this. So now that just means that they have a 10% stake in Kadokawa, which is like they do a bunch of publishing of manga and anime and stuff. So and other stuff like that, new entertainment magazines, things like that. So could be much ado about nothing, but at the same time, you get a little bit more control. You get control of the parent company, and then that you already had, not control, but 10% stake in parent company that you already had 14% in one of the subsidiaries. So could be much ado about nothing, but I hate to see anything happen with From Software because they own very little IPs. They made a lot of crap. They did the Dark Souls games, which Bandai Namco owns those, I believe, the IPs, but From Software did development. Sony owns Bloodborne, but From Software developed that one for them, and Sony has just sat on that one now to be 10 years next year, nothing for 10 years. So,
and so before we go though, a quick question. So Sony owns Crunchyroll. Sony owns a big portion of Kadokawa now. Both of those have a lot of anime. Kadokawa produces a lot of anime. They do Jobless Reincarnation, my sister, the sister of New Devil, Kill la Kill. They do a lot of big anime. Do you think Sony might try to incorporate this into their subscription service? Bump up $10 and you get Crunchyroll and all this other anime with their service. I got to thinking about that when you were talking.
I mean, they own a lot of good anime. I mean, they Kadokawa, they do that. They do quite a bit. It looks like the Shield Hero anime.
Yep,
they have a lot of anime in here that they own that I've watched. So.
Drop Out Idol Fruit Tart. I don't know it. I just saw it. Wanted to say the name.
Yeah. They have a lot in here. A lot of popular anime movies, a lot of popular anime shows.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Classroom of the Elite. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
This could just be Sony wanting to get deeper into the anime and manga market than they already are. Yeah. Like I said, it could be much ado about nothing, but at the same time, any more stake. It's just like Microsoft buying up companies that we like, and then they put their foot up their butt, and next thing you know, the company can't make good games anymore because they're being forced to make something that's so far outside of their realm.
Yeah, but see, that's not always a bad thing because look at Machine Games. They did Indiana Jones. That's completely something I would never expected from them. I mean, it's just a whole different world of gaming between.
How would you? Wolfenstein.
How would you? I was gonna say the Wolfenstein.
Yeah, but Wolfenstein is nowhere near like Indiana Jones. Wolfenstein is a straight up mass murdering of German Nazi shooter. Indiana Jones is an adventure game. It's the storylines of it are so far away from what Machine Games has ever done with Wolfenstein. And don't get me wrong, I love the Wolfenstein series. Absolutely love it. Except for the last one with the daughters. That one was okay. But it's two different things. I mean, they're two different games completely. So I think if you let developers, don't get me wrong, there's some that will just screw up, and it's fine. It happens. But I think if you just let the developers do what the developers do, that's why you bought the damn people. That's why you bought those, to create games. I think when you force somebody to constantly keep pushing out the same dog shit, that's how you end up with Halo 5.
Well, yeah, forcing a company to push something out there when they got ideas to do other things is just as bad. But at the same time, you end up with the game we were just talking about from a studio that had no business making that live service game.
We have a lot of those. Yeah, like Platinum with Babylon's Fall.
Yeah, Babylon's
Crystal
Fall.
Dynamics with the Avengers.
Yeah, right. Whatchamajigger's doing Concord. I mean, there's
Firewalk. That was their first one.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that is their last one. So
It was their last one.
Yeah. Which one was that though? So I can't. The game leaves my mind. That we played with the vampires and
Redfall.
Redfall.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
like I said, you're going to have failures. I mean, that's a given. Unfortunately, $100 million failures. That's pretty massive failure. I mean,
the one thing I'm interested
one time and shit a brick.
The one thing I'm interested to see is how Playground Games does with Fable, because you talk about two ends of the spectrum.
Exactly.
Right?
But maybe I want to know how that was brought up. I want to know if it was like an internal thing. All right, they sent an email out to all the developers that they own and said, hey, bring me a concept, bring me the ideal, bring me a demo or something of what you would think this game could be. And did, turn 10, walk in and slap something down. And, Phil Spencer nipples got hard. He's like, yes, you're it. You're the guy. I mean, how did that come about? Because that is a weird ass racing comedy fantasy RPG. I mean, how do you make that transition? And that scares me in a way, but it also excites me, which sounds weird when you say it out loud. So
look how excited he is.
I am. So
I mean, you can't have the original studio make it. So,
no.
Throw it to somebody. But yeah, I would say
it's no longer around.
Yeah.
That's why we don't get another black and white.
That's why. Where did Milo go? I never got to play with Milo.
He drowned in that pond that he was playing.
Right. So like I said, it could be much ado about nothing. We don't know. Because it just sounds like this acquisition may give Kadokawa, may give them access to more of Kadokawa's anime and manga stuff, maybe we will see more of, but I mean, I'll be honest, a lot of the stuff that Kadokawa publishes and makes and all that stuff in the anime and manga series, especially in the anime series, is everywhere. They don't really
that's
you
true.
Can't have that. So
that's true.
A lot of their stuff probably is on Crunchyroll already, because I think like Shield Hero and the movies that they put, I see a lot of them on Crunchyroll. So
most of I think
maybe they'll get a better deal.
No, they'll probably just bundle it, keep it all on one spot, and then you have to just pay an extra $30.
No, I mean, Sony will get a better deal on their contract and licensing to Kadokawa now that they have 10% stake in it.
That would be cool.
Except for we don't see shit of that. What does it matter?
Oh no, they'll still raise our damn prices. So
yeah,
but it'll be interesting to see. I just hope Sony doesn't Sony it. I just hope they don't corporate greed it and force that developer to do things they shouldn't.
That's like telling somebody not to do something, Shane. I
know. That's like saying don't mod Final Fantasy 7 characters to have breastises.
Don't make nude mods.
Yeah.
No nude mods. No. And definitely don't send them pictures to me. Emails.
That's like telling a kid not to do something they're going to do. But anyway, like we said, what do you think? Do you think this is much ado about nothing?
No.
Do you think that Sony was more interested in what Kadokawa does rather than what From Software is doing? Because like I said, they already had 14% stake in Kadokawa. And I think like Tencent already has 16% in From Software. So, 30% controlling stake by two very large companies is 30% stake in the company's not controlling.
I would rather have Sony having controlling stake than Tencent. I'll just say that. I think that would be better for the gaming community.
I don't know. 10 seems to let stuff go everywhere. So,
yeah, but 10 seems to let people go everywhere.
So does Sony, but
that's true. But not as. But
anyway, it is what it is. We'll find out, right? We'll see if this is much to do about anything in a couple of years.
Better than Embracer.
Yes, Embracer shuts down more than anybody does.
I think we can all agree Embracer's an asshole. Yeah, pardon my language.
Yeah, they don't know what to do with games. They're just like, we buy this, and then it's not doing what we want it to do, so we hit it with a stick for a while, and then we close it down.
Do something.
They're like poking it. Do something. And then when it doesn't do something, they're like, all right, we got to hit it harder. Oh, we killed it. Yeah.
Damn. Put it with the other dead puppies.
Yeah. So, yeah. And that is the day and age we're in, right? Everything is being bought up by larger and larger companies, good or bad. Even Microsoft, who had like the $65 billion buyout, so Activision Blizzard stuff. So I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see what time will tell. So what do you guys think? Do you think this is much ado about nothing? Let us know in the comments. Is it, or do you think this is going to have an impact on future From Software games? Let us know. And you've reached the end of this episode. And as Shane says, we are now friends, and friends help friends out. So make sure you hit that subscription button, hit that bell to get notified when we put out new videos, which we put out multiple videos every week. And we hope you enjoyed this episode and hope to catch you in the next one.
See ya.